Hey guys, Ultron Prime here, and welcome back to more Half-Life 2 Lost Coast. Now, I know I did an episode of this already, but this time, I'm gonna do it with the developer's commentary on. So, let's get started. Oh yeah, and also last week, I told you guys that the audio to the video may not be correct or something, but it turns out it's just fine. So, sorry for wasting your time. And sorry for me breathing so much into the mic. I can't. Let's turn it on. To start or stop a commentary node, aim your crosshairs at any button icon and then press your use key. Okay, so we can just pause it at any time. Okay. Let's start my mouse sensitivity. Yeah, I know this is behind here, so got it. Yeah, you're gonna die here, so don't go in here because of these leeches. Because that could happen. Okay. So just to let you guys know, don't go there.
Welcome to the Lost Coast.
Oh, it's Gabe Newell.
In this tour, we'll be talking about a new graphics technology we've been developing called High Dynamic Range, or HDR for short. We'll also be giving you some insight into the design and production challenges we faced during the construction of the Lost Coast. It appears that you either have HDR disabled or your video hardware does not support HDR. You're still welcome to take a look around the level. First, a quick explanation of the commentary system. To listen to a commentary node, put your crosshair over the floating lambda symbol and press your use key. To stop a commentary node, put your crosshair over the rotating node and press the use key again. Some commentary nodes may take control of the game for the purpose of showing something to you. In these cases, simply pressing your use key again will stop the commentary.
Okay, so let's go over here first.
When the art team started to think about a location
Bitcar
that would
and
demonstrate
Tanov.
the power of HDR,
Sounds
a
Russian.
beach was one of the first choices we made. The visual relationship between the sky, the water, and the rocks is something we could not achieve without HDR. In order for high dynamic range to correctly simulate the light's interaction,
Okay, so I'm gonna stop that real quick. So turns out to be the first game probably like the first game that Valve has produced to use high dynamic range. I don't even know what that means.
when the
But
art team started
it's
to think
interesting.
about a location that would demonstrate the power of HDR, a beach was one of the first choices we made. The visual relationship between the sky, the water, and the rocks is something we could not achieve without HDR. In order for high dynamic range to correctly simulate the light's interaction with the surfaces around you, like these wet rocks, we needed more precise information about the surfaces than we've had in the past. And now going forward, we're modeling textures in 3D packages to ensure that the physical information encoded in the texture allows HDR to correctly bounce light off the surface. We also designed the colors and values of each surface to ensure they will be correct across all exposure levels.
Oh, alright. So next, this one.
With conventional rendering, seen here on the left,
Gary
if something on the
McTaggart.
screen is 20% reflective, like the wet sand, then the maximum reflected brightness could only be 20% of the maximum brightness of your monitor. HDR's more accurate simulation of light ensures that the sun's reflection on this wet sand appears as it would in the real world, which could potentially use 100% of the maximum monitor brightness. HDR uses bloom to simulate light that is beyond 100% of a monitor's maximum brightness.
Oh, so if I'm not mistaken, Gary's mod has the exact same thing. By the way, next week I'm gonna be doing a Gary's mod thing, or like a Garry's-Mod episode. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be doing a Predator mod. Yeah, well, it's not what you think. Trust me. It's the Predator from the movies. Like, you know, that awesome Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? You know, besides the Terminator. That's what I'm gonna be doing.
The process of building characters in Half-Life 2 taught us many things. By the end, we believed we'd figured out a more effective process for designing and constructing characters. This fisherman is the first character we built using that process. Design-wise, the fisherman was focused on showcasing HDR and the way light falls on human skin. The highlights on his forehead and nose are good examples of specularity on human skin. You can see how the wrinkles on his cheeks and around his eyes are an example of how we can use normal maps to add depth. Production-wise, the fisherman was built using a similar process to the rocks you saw on the beach. We model the 3D character at a very high detail, then extract much of the physical information and store it in the textures.
Alright, so let's talk to him.
Hey, you there? Wait a minute now, aren't you? You are. You're that scientist chap, Friedman, Fishman. Am I right?
Freeman.
You must be here to take
Gordon
on the
Freeman.
Combine. Not sure what one man can do, but no other reason to visit St. Olga at a time like this. I'll take you to where they made their base, or as far as I can, at any rate.
Okay. Okay, so I'm on the Half-Life wiki, and I'm searching up Half-Life 2 episode. Half-Life 2 Lost Coast. Sorry, if there's like a supply crate, I'm gonna get it.
Lock this gate for you. Got the key right here. There we go. Get along now, laddie.
Oh, I got a grenade.
Destroy that gun and no dawdling.
I'm dawdling. So let's view
Water
this
presents
commentary.
us with a lot of rendering challenges.
Ooh.
In fact, we have to render the scene 3 times.
Okay, when I first
once
saw
for the refraction of what's on.
Okay, when I first saw that. Alright, so when I first saw that, I thought it was like one of those like Oculus Rift kind of things, but then I thought to myself, it's not a But then I thought to myself that it's like not an Oculus, like a VR game, so there's no way it could be doing that.
Water presents us with a lot of rendering challenges. In fact, we have to render the scene 3 times. Once for the refraction of what's under the water, once for the reflection of everything above the water, and once from the player's view. You can see the reflection and refraction scenes in the 2 small windows on screen. In the refraction, we calculate per pixel how much water you're looking through to do a volumetric underwater fog to simulate particulate matter. For our full HDR solution, we had to go through the entire engine and modify every bit of code that calculated light and color. For example, these water reflection and refraction renderings had to be improved to support the full range of contrast values.
Get going.
I know.
There's a path up the cliff.
I know.
Step lightly now.
Shut up. Okay, gotta give up my... Oh wait, I don't have the SMG! Guess I'm using the shotgun. Okay. So about me looking up Half-Life 2 Lost Coast. So it says here, Half-Life 2 Lost Coast is a technology demo showing off the Source Engine's HDR rendering capabilities. The town of St. Olga, where the game is set, was originally slated to take place between the levels Highway 17 and Sand Traps, but it was dropped. Lost Coast was released on October 27, 2005 as a free download to all owners of Half-Life 2. Although after that, I see an ad for Overwatch's Halloween Terror event. And May has a new skin, by the way. So does Symmetra, Zenyatta, McCree, and Reaper. There's my SMG. Yes, I know to run. Still don't have my SMG. I'm not waiting. Oh, now I get a grenade. Sorry if that sounded weird. So now I know to run. Because, you know, I'm a dumbass. Oh, there's commentary.
The area you're currently entering is called the
Robin
Cliffside
Walker.
Arena. We were particularly happy with the vertical cliffside in Half-Life 1 and regretted that we didn't iterate further on that concept in Half-Life 2. Vertical space
Oh,
allows...
so they had like a concept of in the first Half-Life that they didn't use in Half-Life 2, but they possibly used that in this game.
The area you're currently entering is called the Cliffside Arena. We were particularly happy with the vertical cliffside in Half-Life 1 and regretted that we didn't iterate further on that concept in Half-Life 2. Vertical space allows us to force the player to deal with threats from above and below. We find that players focus their view on the direction they're traveling, so by using a cliffside and having the player ascend it, we ensure that the player will look up and be prepared for enemies. If the player's path was to move past the bottom of the cliffside, it would be unlikely he would notice soldiers rappelling down from above. And dying from unknown threats never feels fair and certainly isn't fun.
Okay. Oh, I thought that was like a grenade. Oh, I'm full. Huh. Okay. Shit. I hate these guys. God damn it. I'm low on health. Like, you can play this in Gary's mod. Like, yesterday I was playing this level as the Terminator. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes! Beat that game. I'm smarter than you. Oh, never mind. Yeah, I should probably get going. Son of a... Okay, so aim for the head is what there's. Fuck. There we go. Yeah, I'm retreating. This-
One of the features of our
Chris
HDR
Green.
solution
Is he related
is
to
dynamic
Seth
tone
Green?
mapping. The easiest way to think about dynamic tone mapping.
Sorry. You interrupted him!
One of the features of our HDR
Continue.
solution is dynamic tone mapping. The easiest way to think about dynamic tone mapping is that it's a method of simulating the way the human eye reacts to light. In the real world, you've probably walked into a dark room and noticed your eye adjusting to the darkness, letting you see better after
Yeah.
some time. Or you've walked out into a bright day and been blinded by the sun, only to have your eye adjust and allow you to see normally. Your iris is adjusting itself in response to the amount of light hitting your eye. Dynamic tone mapping simulates this by automatically adjusting the exposure of the scene to mimic the behavior of your iris. You could see this as the view moves from the dark tunnel to the bright sun and back again. Here, you can see the way we calculate the amount of light hitting the player's eyes. We take a snapshot of the scene, measure the brightness levels, and then use that to adjust exposure. We consider light at the center of the screen more important than at the edges, to better simulate the geometry of the eye.
Okay. Okay, so that Seth Green joke, if you don't know who Seth Green is, he's like the creator of Robot Chicken. He's also voices Chris Griffin in Family Guy. By the way, I also heard that Robot Chicken is making a Walking Dead parody.
The courtyard in front of you is a space we call an arena. Arenas are built to hold the player for a period of time, and usually contain combat or some other challenge. They often have multiple entry points for enemies, along with a gate of some kind to prevent the player moving on, until the challenge has been completed. In this case, the arena is free of enemies until the player solves a puzzle and triggers an alarm. This is a method that allows the player to explore the arena and get a sense of its space before being forced to fight in it. It adds a sense of uneasiness to the player who's expecting to be attacked now that they've reached the goal set for them at the start of the map. The break in the action here is also a crucial part of the level's pacing. It allows the player to recover and explore the world a little after being attacked on the way up the cliffside.
Oh, so this part of the map is like, it's essentially just like it gives you a chance to take a break, is what they're saying. So like instead of kicking Combine ass, you just like explore the map a little bit. Sorry, if there's supplies, I'm gonna get it.
The Source engine supports a wide variety of shaders.
Oh my god.
The refraction shader on the window
When I
here
first
requires
played
us
this,
to
I
copy
never
the
noticed
clear
that.
texture, refract it, and then apply it to the window surface. To fully support HDR, every shader in the engine needed to be updated. So this refraction shader was improved to support the full range of contrast. If you viewed the sun through this window, it would be refracted correctly.
I think I see some more commentary. Yep. 3.
We wanted to transition from a bright, wide-open space into a tighter, closed one to showcase HDR's dynamic tone mapping. We also like to focus on contrasting elements in our settings, like ancient human architecture and futuristic Combine technology. A monastery fit these requirements perfectly. Monasteries are generally isolated, unlit, and built ages ago. They provide a great backdrop for the contrasting Combine technology. When we build fictional settings, we try to ground them by basing them off a real-world location. We use these locations as a design constraint that forces a logical consistency behind the art choices.
Alright, next
Churches are
commentary.
great dramatic spaces. They're often lit naturally with extremes of darkness and brightness, which makes them a great showcase for HDR. Gothic churches are the sober monochromatic spaces that you've seen in almost every horror movie or game. Byzantine churches, on the other hand, are very colorful and have a large variety of materials. We wanted that color and material variety to show off our HDR reflections.
Okay, so I already know how to... Is this shiny? Oh my god, it is. Is this like the HDR thing going on, or...
Our games are filled with things we call gates, which are essentially just challenges that the player must overcome to drive the experience forward. We used a puzzle here since the player has been through combat and exploration recently. When we design challenges, we try to ensure that the player's goal and the action required by the player are both fun. It's not hard to create interesting goals for the player, like stopping this machine from shelling the nearby village, but the action required by the player to solve the challenge needs to be fun as well. So instead of something menial, such as hitting an off switch, the player gets to use physics to jam the gun's mechanism and cause it to break.
Yeah, I already know that you need to use something to jam it. For example, this. Put that in, and it jams. Yeah, I have closed captioning on, so that's why you have the sound effect things in the subtitle area. Oh shit, I forgot about the head crabs. No. So much nope. Fucking JonTron, man. Wait, weren't there 2 head crabs? I see you. I know they're combined headed down here. From there. And I see the helicopter. I always thought like that specific hunter chopper in Half-Life 2 Lost Coast is like the easiest thing to take down. It only takes like 3 shots, like a Mario boss. Grenade. Sorry, I was watching the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. Oh shit, it's right there. Alright.
This marks the end of the Lost Coast tour. This has been an experiment on our part to see if our community would find it interesting to learn more about our development process.
There's Gabe Newell again.
As always, we're interested in your feedback. I can be reached at gaben, Gaben, at valvesoftware.com. If people like this, we'll keep producing this kind of content for all of our games going forward. Thanks for listening.
So, is this why Half-Life 3 is taking so long? Guess. Okay. Okay. And third. God damn it. Third. First try. Okay, so it does use the rule of threes like used in Mario. It's like hit a boss 3 times. Ah, shit. Oh, I can use the gravity gun to use this. Shit. So that was the end of the commentary. So since the end of the game is just down there, I'm going to finish it. Wait a minute. Oh god damn it! I missed one. You know what? You know what? When I get back on, I'm gonna play that last one.
Come on with me to St. Olga. We'll celebrate this victory with a feast. I hope you like leeches. Hey, where you going? You're getting fuzzy around the edges. Well, I guess you got other places to be. Nice knowing ya.
I guess the reason why they didn't add this level is probably either that it didn't make any sense, or maybe they didn't have time. So I said I was going to. I already said I was gonna replay that level. So okay. So you can hear that So you can hear that last thing that you didn't hear. So here we go. Sorry. Aha!
The remains of the ship in front of you were once part of a puzzle we cut out of the Lost Coast. The original design of the puzzle was based on the idea of the player and the fisherman cooperating together to solve something. This was the type of puzzle we'd always wanted to attempt in Half-Life 2. Unfortunately, as development on Lost Coast neared the end, and this puzzle still wasn't finished, we decided to cut it. It's always painful to remove work, so we've tried to evolve a process for making those kinds of decisions. For example, with this puzzle we asked ourselves, is this puzzle actually fun? If not, how much work does it need to be fun? Does this puzzle fit within the purpose of Lost Coast? Would our customers appreciate this puzzle being finished more than they would appreciate, say, soldiers rappelling off the cliffside? In the end, it made more sense to put this problem on the shelf with other interesting ideas and come back to it later.
Alright, I guess that's the end. So, wait. I gotta shoot the seagull. Shit. Missed. Missed again. First try. Now in Gary... Okay, so... Wait. Gotta shoot this one. Damn it. Out of ammo. Oh wait, I did that one already. Okay, so that is all for this time. If you enjoyed this, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please kick that like button, the mouse in this. God damn it, I can't even say my own outro right. So basically, just like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Ultron Prime out.